Hi everybody, this is Heather McCullum, author of my newest release. Here is the Highlander's Unexpected Proposal. And today I am going to show you about making pumpkin butter. It's October and it's a perfect time of year to start doing that. And yes, you can just use a can of pumpkin and that's perfectly fine. But for those of you who want to know how to get these into something like pie or whatever and how to cook this down, I'm going to start with that. So first thing you want to do is make sure that you've bought pie pumpkins, not the jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, but something that's labeled like pie pumpkins because they taste better. Okay, now I've washed them, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one. Now this is tricky. You want to use as sharp a knife as you can, pretty big because you have to get through it, and be careful. Like don't aim it at you because this is really tough skin. And I'm gonna start. I might have to get even a firmer knife. I wanted you to see that this is kind of tough. This is the hardest part of the whole thing. Okay, I'm sort of doing it like a watermelon, but a watermelon is easier. See, like, you get stuck on there. So what you want to do is cut it in half. To a point where it can kind of split. You know what's harder is the coconut. Ever try to crack a coconut? That's pretty hard. A real coconut. Get it out of the husk. Okay. Okay, I'm almost there. Almost there. See, I'm trying to aim down. Okay, got it. Whew. And so what you have inside are some nice seeds and guts, and you want to take that out. So I have one of these handy dander things which has a little edge on there. I think this is from Pampered Chef, but you can get them other places. Or you can just use a spoon sort of thing. So basically you want to get these seeds out. Now I save the seeds because I'm going to wash them up and roast them later. I like them sweet with a little bit of butter and brown sugar and cinnamon. So I'm just gonna, you can see I'm scraping out all those things. And even though the pumpkins are smaller, the seeds are still the regular size that you would get like in your jack-o'-lantern. Now I do cook up the jack-o'-lantern seeds because they do just fine. They taste very good. Okay. So I'm trying to get out most of the string, like a lot of the strings, but don't worry, the strings will even cook down. And I use an immersion blender or a blender at the end to make sure that there aren't strings hanging out. So I'm going to collect these. Now you would do this with both sides. So you can see here, it is pretty cleaned out. And I am going to bake it in a pan. Let's see, my glasses so you can see. I'm going to put both of them in, and I'm going to put them cut side down. And so I'll have two of them. And then I'm going to put about 1/4 of an inch of water in the bottom. Like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven at 300 degrees for an hour. And then it will be easy where I can just poke a fork right through it. That's what you want. So let me get the rest of this done. I'm going to bake it and then I'll be right back. And I'm back. After 1 hour at 300 degrees in the oven, my pumpkins are done. I'll show you how easily the fork goes through. It should be able to push right through. So that's when I know that they are cooked. And then I let them cool a bit. After I took them out, I drained the water, let them cool a little bit so I could handle them. And then I'm going to take a big spoon and scoop out everything that's inside. They are still a little bit hot, but I'm going to use this pot holder. Although, well, maybe I won't because it's really hard. Okay, so I'm holding it and I am scooping it out. And I can even hold it by the stem there. It would be best if you let it cool all the way, but I am trying to get this done. And I'm putting it into a pot because that's what I'm going to be putting all the ingredients into. to take to the stove. So, yeah, this one is still a little bit hot. I already did the other one. That brings me to numbers. I am using 2 of the pie pumpkins that I showed you when I first started. So the recipes that I've seen, sometimes you can just do 1, but then, you know, it's cut in half. I am going to post what, this recipe is my own. So it's a little bit of several recipes and just what I happen to like. So I will post the measurements, but I'm basically making enough for using two pumpkins to make this, which would be the equivalent of about 3 cans of the 15-ounce cans of pumpkin. And if you're doing that, don't get the pumpkin pie mix. Get the actual just raw, you know, pumpkin. Okay, I'm almost there. And it looks kind of neat when, I'll show you the other ones that I did. I pulled out all the stuff. It cooled faster for some reason. Okay. So once you take it all out, it feels really weird, sort of like a football, almost like a deflated football. Anyways, it could be a mask. It's very bizarre. Anyways, that's kind of neat. So I also took some out from the other pumpkins. So I've got all of that in here. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to add all the ingredients and stir it together. Now, what you could do is decide to use the immersion blender first. And in fact, I think I will. And then add everything, cook it, and then use the immersion blender again. So let me get that. And here I have my handy dandy immersion blender. If you wanted to, you could put this into another blender or a, you know, something to puree it, food processor. And so I'm just going to go through it all. Just want to get those strings chopped up. I'm just kind of going around it, making sure they're chopped up, make it nice and pureed. Then once you have that all pureed, that's just like what's out of the can, okay? And so what I have here is about 60 ounces or 3 pounds, 11 ounces, 12 ounces, something like that, which is about the equivalent, I guess. It's a little bit more. It's a little bit more, maybe 4 cans of it. So like I said, you could cut this in half. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add all the other ingredients to it, and then I'll take it to the stove where it's going to bring it up to boil and then let it simmer for 30 minutes, okay? So I'm adding apple juice, which I got some, the fresh apple juice. And we have cinnamon. We have, this is the ginger. This is the cloves. This is the nutmeg. Then I add a little bit of salt just to help bring out the flavors. And then the sugar. Now, I am not adding nearly as much sugar. Well, I'm not adding as much sugar as some of the other recipes that I've seen. But this is, I'm adding, and also I've seen just white sugar, but I add white sugar and I add some brown sugar. And even though that seems like a lot, it's less than what I see in recipes. So I'm going to stir this up and I'm going to take it to the stove and cook it for 30 minutes. And then I will show you what it looks like. While we're waiting for the pumpkin butter to cook on the stove, I wanted to just show you what I did with the seeds. So I've taken these seeds out and I've taken out all the yucky guts. There's still little pieces here and there, and I take them out, but I try to get them as clean as possible in like a sieve. And then I pull them out and I am going to add to this bowl some melted butter. And you can do, if you prefer salty, you can do salty, but I like sweet and salty. So I'm adding like a tablespoon of butter. And this is from 2 pie pumpkins. And then I'm going to stir that up with some brown sugar. And again, you can put as much as you want or as little as you want and whatever seasonings you want. I'm going to do cinnamon and brown sugar with the butter. And then I'm going to also do a little bit of salt, but I'm going to wait till I get them out on the sheet. Now the sheet, I've gone ahead and done. Now since there's butter in here, I'm not spraying the sheet or anything. I put down some tin foil just to make it easier to clean up. I can hear the pumpkin butter popping over there, so I turned it down real low. I made sure to stir it a lot. It ended up being more stringy because I used the real pumpkin, so I used the immersion blender again before it got to boiling. And I put a lid on top with it cracked because I want it to not get everywhere because it's popping over there, bubbling. All right, so once that's all stirred up with whatever you want, I'll put it out here on the baking sheet. Some people do like olive oil and savory type of spices, and that's fine too. So I sort of evenly distribute them. And then, well, that's my oven telling me it's at 300 degrees. And I'm gonna just sprinkle some salt over it. And then I'm gonna pop these in for a little bit. About, gosh, I can't remember. I'll probably look at it at 20 minutes and see how they are and stir them every once in a while. So I'll be right back. And here we are with our final pumpkin butter. So I went ahead and I actually squeezed about half of a lemon in as well, just to give it a little fresh taste to it. When I tasted it, it needed a little something. And I used the immersion blender in the pot. Make sure that you keep that lid on and be very careful. I turned it all the way to low and it was still popping out boiling hot pumpkin butter. So once you get it, you want it to cool for a little bit, and then you can put it right into jars to give as gifts, or you can put it into some freezer bags to freeze. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind, even though you're using canning glasses, and you can sterilize them if you want, but it is not really recommended to can pumpkin butter, like to store it out of the refrigerator. It never really gets to the right temperature in there to make it completely safe. So they say keep it in the refrigerator or freeze it, enjoy it. You can use it in all sorts of batters like muffins, pancakes, oatmeal, all of that stuff. You can add a dab or a bunch and make it into a pumpkin pie version of it. And also, oh, and the house smells wonderful. And I baked up the seeds with that brown sugar and cinnamon and butter. And what I did was I went for about 30 minutes on 300, and then I upped it to 425 and then watched it very closely because it was like broiling it. So they started to burn around the edges, but it makes them nice and crispy and delicious. So anyways, so that is how you make pumpkin butter from pumpkins. Thank you, everybody. This is Heather McCullum signing off. Bye-bye.